Welcome to a new daily top Askreddit video. Today's topic: elevator maintenance. Folks, what is the weirdest thing you have found at the bottom of the elevator chamber? Keys. Trash. Bugs if the building is exceptionally shitty. Mostly dirt and dust. Found a paint roller that the last guy left there once. It was stuck to the floor. Not a whole lot of weird stuff can make it between the sill and the landing. This is the only real answer, but folks get a hard-on for dildo stories. A purple jelly hardo, apparently. This question should be my jam, but unfortunately I've never found anything interesting. $2 coin once, a dime bag of some unknown drug, plenty of syringes, or sets of keys. It's mostly just people's junk mail and empty chip bags down there. I had a co-worker who was opening a candy bar and dropped it down the shaft by accident. Hopefully the building's rats were able to enjoy it. I think they prefer the term elevator maintenance folk. I once accidentally lost my driver's license down the little gap in the elevator doors, just dropped it and was super unlucky as it slipped through. It turned up in my mail 10 years later. Obviously long expired, but still crazy some maintenance guy found it and bothered retuning it. Got pulled over once, handed the po my license and he dropped it in the crack where the window would have been. We looked at each other for a second, he says good luck and walked away. Edit, it took a few minutes to take a vent off the side and grab it with a wire and some tape. That's when you go to the station, explain what happened and ask if their car mechanic can do it or if they want you to just send them the bill for deconstructing the door. My dad has a great story about this. He supervised the mechanics, and one of them called him from a mental hospital and said, "You've got to see this." The maintenance guy was called because the elevator wasn't quite sitting level on the ground floor, it was about half an inch too high and both patients and staff had been tripping on it. But all other floors were no problem. My dad arrived to find the maintenance guy cackling, looking into the bottom of the shaft. There were probably tens of thousands of magazines down there. They had to get a bunch of shovels, a small crew, and a rolling dumpster to clear it out. When it was all done, my dad decided to stay behind and pretend to read a newspaper while he sat in the lobby. After about half an hour, he sees an elderly patient holding a magazine, shuffling slowly toward the elevator. He stops in front of the doors, glances left, glances right, and quickly stoops down, slides the magazine into the gap, and shuffles away as fast as he can with a huge grin on his face. My dad could not help but laugh hysterically. This guy had probably been sliding magazines in there multiple times per day, every day, for decades. I should ask him whether he reported it or let the guy have his fun. Wouldn't surprise me if my dad went with the latter. 10,000 magazines. Wow, this guy sure must have had a lot of time. A ton of issues as well. Worked at a hotel. Guest dropped their phone down the shaft. After a few failed retrieval efforts, we called the elevator guys. They went down, got the phone and also found a carton of eggs. Rotten, but not cracked. I don't even understand how that could happen accidentally. Because it was no accident. I work in tech now, but while I was in college I helped an HVAC guy and he once had me put a carton of fresh eggs in the duct of a client's office that had stiffed him before. When I asked him why I was doing this, he said if this motherfucker doesn't pay up, he's going to have a new issue. But then the guy paid 2 days later and I was sent to retrieve the eggs. He called it his 99-cent insurance policy. But then the guy paid 2 days later and I was sent to retrieve the eggs. He called it his 99-cent insurance policy. I'm picturing you standing up a ladder in a busy cubicle setting, removing a ceiling tile, then coming down with a dozen eggs like it's business as usual. Ah, so that's where I left them, whelp, chaya. Did home repair to help put myself through college. Get a call that there's a non-wastewater leak in an apartment in a second-floor bathroom from a landlord, so me and my co-worker go over. The water line on the toilet has a leak, enough has come out that we need to remove some of the ceiling in the living room to replace it. So we cut out a 4x4 area that meets a ceiling joist and we find an egg. One single egg balanced on the ceiling joist. We gingerly removed it and tossed it out. The ceiling had been closed up for at least the last 40 years. It was lath and plaster, that old. That egg still haunts me. Can confirm there is weird stuff in ceilings. Lived in a very old house, upstairs bathroom had a leak, ceiling collapsed into the bathtub of downstairs bathroom, and with it came a pair of sunglasses from 1937. I lost an Easter egg once when me and my brother were seeking them. Found it a few months later in a cabinet drawer and being like 5 years old excitedly grabbed it, resulting in the worst smell I've ever smelled and the cabinet needing to be thrown out. Worked security in a large department store. We routinely had to pop it open to retrieve dropped keys, wallets, and phones. Recovered a $2,500 gold necklace covered in poop. A would-be shoplifter darted out of our jewelry department and suitcased the necklace while in the elevator. When he realized we were waiting for him at the exit level, he went back up a floor, removed it, and dropped it down the shaft. We arrested him anyway, much to his surprise. Suitcased. Till. Edit. So after 14 years on Reddit, my most upvoted comment is now about a word for sticking things up your ass. Marvelous. Today I learn. Tomorrow I poop. Jewelry. Well over 1,500 tax returns at the bottom of the ATO's North Brisbane office elevator shaft. Bloody hell. Were you sent there to retrieve them, or did some drogo just lose them and thought no one will find them anyway? Also, were they e-tax/MyGov printouts, or the old paper submitted ones? This is going back quite a few years, when I think ATO employees were doing favors for people. At one time the system was so full of holes, employees could do all sorts of things they shouldn't have without fear of being caught. Bundle of Watchman Watchtower magazines, Jehovah's Witnesses pamphlets, wrapped in duct tape. Inside it was a Rossi 44 special revolver and a screwdriver. Some Jehovah's Witness was sick of having doors closed in his face. Y'all ready to hear about the Lord, or do you want to meet the motherfucker? The elevator guys in my dad's office complex found pieces of a dog's skeleton. Not the whole skeleton, just random parts. The same dog at least. I'm sure they did DNA tests, just to be safe. Not a technician, but do work at a large hotel. A few years ago one of our elevators stopped working. Turned out when they opened it up they found a 3-foot pile of guest folios that were never delivered to the rooms. Later when we looked on the camera we found it was a security guard that got tired of delivering them to the rooms and instead dropped them down the elevator shaft. He did this for months until he was caught. Guest folios. When you check out from a hotel, they normally deliver you a folio underneath your door. It's the receipt showing the charges for your stay. My dad was an elevator mechanic for about 15 years. He had a very dark sense of humor and would come home with some of the craziest stories. For example, any time he was in an elevator, he would shake it a little or tap on the displays or buttons and go yep. Total piece of crap. Inferior piece of crap. And I think he mostly did it to freak people out. One of my favorites. He got a call that someone was hearing weird noises from the elevator. He got inside, rode the elevator up and sure enough, he could hear it too. For half a second he thought it was a baby crying and realized it was a cat. When he got to a certain floor, he could hear this sad meowing. It obviously wasn't in the elevator car, so he got into the shaft and found this little orange kitty. It had somehow, and I don't think he figured out or told us how, got into the elevator shaft and was sitting in a spot between the floors where it wouldn't get crushed by the elevator, but it couldn't get out. My dad saved it and gave it to the building manager to see if it belonged to anyone in the building. It was the one time he ever told us a story that involved him saving an animal instead of finding dead ones. And I don't think he figured out or told us how. Cats are made of liquid, and I am pretty serious. They have a lot of flow and fit through cracks and crevices much smaller than you think should be possible. Cat in the wall. Now you're speaking my language. Why have so many people in the comments found purple dildos? It's all the same shaft. So to speak. Edit. I'm simultaneously deeply proud and disgusted that this is now my top all-time comment. Thanks all for the love. Been in the game 12 years now. Found a full Christmas tree last month. Other finds. 5 Kelvin in 20 pounds notes. Big ass bag of drugs. Roughly 5 kilograms. Brand new shoes by the box load. Severed finger. Edit. Holy shit, this has blown up. My most commented and upvoted on Reddit. So backstory. Christmas tree was found this year on a council estate in August. Photos was taken for the office as it was rather amusing. I visit this lift every month. The money and drugs was found in the same lift shift around 3 months apart 7 years ago. The money was spilled between me and my engineer as I was a apprentice at the time. The drugs we handed into security. The shoes was found on a passenger forward/staff lift out the back of JD Sports. Suspect a staff member was sticking them down there and loading into a car at the end of his shift. Police was involved in this one. The finger was found in a very expensive apartment building. We talking 50 floors and £1 million plus apartments. Again, police and MG services involved in this one. No one asked about the severed finger. I feel like someone should have been sent after that one. Somehow I feel like shoes, money, drugs, finger are related.